Hello once again, and welcome to People of Note on Classic FM 102.7. I'm Richard Koch, and this program is broadcast every Sunday from 6 to 9. In it, I talk to someone who is a person of note, and we listen to music of their choice. And my guest in tonight's program is JUDE HARPSTAR. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a great
Such
pleasure.
an honor.
And I feel actually that I've known you probably for your whole life, because I've known your family, although our paths haven't crossed so often. But I knew you as something slightly different. You were Jude van der Walt. So just tell us how you came to be JUDE HARPSTAR.
Well, a couple of years ago, after I came back from studying in the States, the name just came to me because I thought I needed a stage name. Also because van der Walt was always spelled wrong by people, and it sounded funny and to English people, and I just thought I needed something very catchy and very quick, and HARPSTAR came to me because I am a harpist, and HARPSTAR, it was just catchy to me.
Fitted.
Yes.
What were you called in America? Van der Watt?
Van der Watt, some of my friends said Thunderbutt, sounded like Thunderbutt, Vandertwat, I don't know, all sorts of funny things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how did you get to America? Because you started playing the harp here in South Africa.
Yes, I started playing the harp at age 10 here in South Africa under Kathy Phillips, and my mother piano is my first instrument, which I started playing when I was 5, and my mom suggested that I learn another instrument to gain experience within orchestras and just ensembles and so on, and there was a list of instruments that JCE was providing lessons for, and I remember sitting in the parking lot in her car after an Eisteddfod, and she pulled out the list and she said, which instrument would you really like to play? And I looked at the list, and harp was the immediate choice.
Isn't it funny how these things happen?
It really is, but I feel like the harp, because of its difficulty and its rarity in this country and its price, the harp basically chooses the player. It's something that I think is within the person that wants to play harp, and you immediately, it's there for life. It's not something like, oh, I want to play the piano, let me get a small keyboard. Oh, it's an investment.
It sure is. Now, your first choice of music is by Rachmaninoff. It's the Etude Tableau in D minor. Yes. Arkady Volodos is the pianist. You say you started on the piano, but actually, in a way, the piano and the harp are very similar.
Yes, the harp is actually within the piano.
Yeah.
So I think it was quite a logical choice from my side, and also the fact that I grew up with a family combi, because
That's
I'm one
lucky.
of 4 children. Yes, so I picked a convenient instrument for the cars we had.
And presumably now you have your own harp, or 2.
Yes, I have my own harp. It's my grand orchestral harp is actually electric and acoustic, which is amazing because I love to play within different genres, and I love a big sound, hence also my choice of Rachmaninoff for the first song. But I have a grand orchestral harp, and I have a smaller lever harp, and my grandma on my mother's side actually bought my harps for me throughout my whole life. My very first harp that I owned was bought by my grandma, who has now passed on, but she blessed me with it.
She certainly did, because I guess harps are quite an expensive bit of equipment for a harpist. And I mean, this is something perhaps you don't think of when you start playing the harp, because there was one at JCE.
Yes.
And so you didn't have to worry about having your own instrument, but eventually, of course, it's wonderful to have your own instrument. But moving it around, just tell us about the logistics of moving a harp around.
So you definitely need a whole army, but if you don't have one, you can have a very strong and supportive husband or mother. In the beginning, before I obviously had my husband, we would move the harp around together. You need a really big car, you need strength to pick the harp up, and you have to be very, very careful because it's a very
Fragile.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a very fragile instrument, completely made of wood. And you have a cart which the harp goes onto, which makes it easier to move around, you know, if you have to take it into spaces, into the lift, into the this and that. But yeah, it's a mission.
Now, what took you to America?
I played at the Sanlam music competition. And I got to the finals, and Tilla Hinkins was there. And she heard me perform, and she approached my mother and said, there's something special with your daughter, and she would do amazingly at Interlachen Arts Academy in Michigan. And I was only about 12 years old then, and my mother thought, oh no, she's way too young, I can't send her now, it'll be completely traumatic and a crazy idea. And so she kept it a secret until I was 17. And then she told me about 2 scholarships that were awarded by SAMRO from Interlachen, full scholarships to stringed instruments. And I thought, okay, let me try. And I ended up winning the full scholarship, and I went to Interlachen Arts Camp for 8 weeks.
This was playing the harp, though.
This was playing the harp, yes.
So fortunately, the harp counted as a stringed instrument.
Yes, exactly. Although it's known as a percussive instrument.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I won the full scholarship, and I ended up going to Interlachen Arts Camp when I was 17, in the beginning of my Standard 9 year at Rodin, and off I went, and it was absolutely incredible.
How amazing. Isn't it funny how these sort of life-changing experiences happen just like that?
Yes.
Somebody said she should go to Interlachen, and off you went eventually.
Exactly. And I mean, I love spontaneous.
Yeah. Now, I think it's amazing, these serendipitous things that happen in your life. But you might have been called Jude Piano Star, but you weren't. You were called Jude Harpstar.
Exactly, and I think Harpstar has almost a better ring to it.
It certainly does. So you went off to Interlachen, and then you came back to South Africa, and eventually you went back to America for some time, did you?
Well, I actually came back only for about a month to sort out my visa, because the first week of being at the summer camp, I loved it so much that I called my mom, and I told her I'm not coming back. And she was horrified and also extremely excited, and she said, that's fine, but you need to audition and get a very big scholarship. Otherwise, you can't stay. I mean, the exchange rate and everything is just too intense, and flights and all that. And I organized an audition with the professor at the academy, and then I won another almost full scholarship to the academy, and I stayed.
We're going to hear about the rarity of harp players in a moment, because that's probably got something to do with it. But let's listen to some music now by Maurice Ravel. This is the Daphnis and Chloe Suite No. 2. It's the pantomime from that, played by the London Symphony Orchestra under André Previn. We were talking about the rarity of harp players, because there are not a lot of you in the world.
No. There are a lot of them, though, in America and in Europe.
Well, a lot is relative.
Yes, of course, definitely. But in comparison with South Africa, for example, in America you can study the harp as your major at over 100 universities.
Wow.
Which is absolutely amazing. Whereas here,
there are not even 100 harp players.
No. There's about 20 maybe professional harp players. So it's very small compared to that.
Yeah. And yet the harp is quite popular for, I don't want to say commercial use, but a lot of people like to have harp at a wedding or, sort of more commercial type activities.
Yes.
And you've obviously made a niche for yourself as a harpist here.
Yes, I would say because of my my curiosity with different genres. I mean, I'm classically trained, but I love exploring. I'm trained in jazz as well, so I can improvise over any genre, really. And that has brought me to playing with Sipho Hotsticks at the Joy of Jazz, and Gregory Porter, and Pops Muhammad.
So you can turn your hand to anything, really.
Yes.
And that's as we often say on this program, those are the people who get ahead, the ones who can sort of do anything and are prepared to do anything, because not
Yes.
all musicians are prepared to do anything. They can, but they don't want to necessarily.
Yes.
But I think it's very important to be able to fit into the many niches, especially here in South Africa.
I mean, it makes your performance options very exciting. I got to perform also with Questa, who's one of the biggest rap artists in the country. And to put electric harp with rap is something that's unheard of. So it's really cool, and I've played at Makufe Festival with over 40,000 people in the crowd on my grand orchestral harp with Sipho hot sticks.
Yeah, it is amazing. Now, your next choice is Dmitri Shostakovich, and this is the Piano Concerto number 2. Christopher Deigen is the pianist with the Joburg Philharmonic Orchestra under Charles Ansbacher. You've chosen quite a lot of piano music so far, but this I noticed that the people like Ravel that you've chosen, Tchaikovsky coming up, these are people who use the harp a lot as well.
Yes. Well, I've chosen a lot of piano music because, piano was my first love. And this was majorly influenced by my professors. My first teacher ever was Anna Fourie, an incredible person, an incredible musician and teacher. And then I went on to the famous Pauline Nossel and Malcolm Ney. And they taught me everything I knew about musicality and a passion for music. And my lessons were just so inspiring. Pauline would always open her her huge collection of CDs, and before we pick a piece, we would listen to all the pieces and all the different interpretations and so on. And so, yes, piano.
And you still play piano?
Yes, I still play piano. I actually recorded on Caroline Lysergang's album, which won Best Classical iTunes Album of the Year in 2015.
Yeah, and in fact, we had her on this program, and she played you.
Yes.
Playing it, yeah.
Yes. Which is an absolutely beautiful album, and it was lovely to learn the music. I actually learned the music in a week. I had a very short time span. It was a wonderful experience. We recorded at St. Mary's in their beautiful auditorium, stunning piano. And I just also released my own piano album that I perform on and that I composed.
And have we got some of that coming up in this program?
Yes, we've got one of the songs.
Well, why don't we listen to one of them now? That was called Dreaming Earth, and it's by my guest in People of Note, Jude Harpstar, and she was playing the piano as well. The title?
The title. Well, I have composed the music on this album over a span of 10 years. And I'm not a trained composer at all, but I love expressing myself. And so about 10 years ago...